Hello, everybody.
You have your coffee?
I do. I
Should we
got
do it?
coffee.
Should we do a shout out? We really need to do a shout out for her. My coffee mug.
For your mug, yeah. Mesare Ceramics on Etsy. It's actually two women who are best friends, and they make really, really beautiful earthenware mugs with all sorts of different animals on them, insects, aquatic, marine animals. Really, really beautiful stuff. They hold up amazing. They
Yes, they
package
do.
everything really well, and you can really tell they put a lot of love and care into their stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who are we?
I don't know, Michelle. Who are we? That's the existential question of all of our lives, is it not?
Are we going through an existential crisis?
All
I
the
think that,
time.
oh, the
No,
world.
no.
That's what's happening. The world, the universe is going through an existential crisis right now.
Some people aren't. They're just happy living with their head in the sand. But anyway, hi everyone. Welcome back to Shockingly Delightful, our show on Wednesdays with myself. I am Krista of Wicked Wisdom Consulting. I help small businesses run their business and get their stuff in order. Michelle, who are you?
I'm Michelle, and I am Michelle Barone with Moksha Grace Coaching. And what I do is I help those in need of some inner family, that have inner family dysfunction. I help them learn how to manage their
To be honest
emotional
with you,
inner family.
the average person has no idea what that means. That sounds to me like you're a family therapist. So can you give a variation of that?
Sure. What I do is I help you manage your emotions so that your emotions don't manage you.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Got it. All right, good to know.
Because your inner family, the inside voices in our head conspire against us sometimes.
So say conspirate. What
I know. I was like,
what is
what?
that?
What's that word? That's not a
Gotcha.
word.
Sounds like you're
Yeah.
doing great work.
It it's liberating. It's emotional liberation.
I don't know why I'm acting like I don't know what you do. I don't know why I'm taking on that persona today. But anyway, today's topic is going to be interesting. We're talking conspiracies and coffee. The coffee is just here. We're not really going to be talking about coffee. But,
Well,
we thought we'd bring in a little bit of a fun topic, at least for some. And definitely, if you're here, like, comment, let us know that you're here, share this out, and comment with your favorite conspiracy theory.
yes.
While we dive into the topic.
Yes.
Where would you like to start?
Well, as you were saying, coffee, one of the things I heard yesterday was that most coffee beans sit in a warehouse for so long that it yeah grows like mold and stuff on it, and then it's ground up, and then we're drinking coffee that's like bad for us, and
Yeah,
that you should make sure you know where your coffee's coming from. So that was something I learned yesterday that
that,
I did not know.
that's actually that, and that's not even a conspiracy. That is true. And actually, there's a gentleman I networked with a little while ago, and I'm trying to find his name right now. He
Oh,
has,
I remember I met him too.
yeah, Mike Mascow, Roast to Order Coffee, has a really great, super
Hmm.
fresh coffee product. If anyone's looking to buy, like, he roasts it. It's roasted right before it's sent out. Really cool guy, but really great company that has great coffee. So if you're looking for freshly ground coffee, check out Roast to Order. That's roast and the number two order. And he does not know that I'm shouting him out today, so
We'll
there you
have to
go.
share this with him. And what I was listening to, because I was kind of preparing a little bit for today, kind of getting in touch with some of the stuff that's going on, because I usually don't watch a lot of stuff. And I heard that on the Russell Brand show, and he was talking to some dude named Drew, and they were talking about coffee, and I think it was one of his like little commercials that he has, and he was talking about some Rumble coffee that comes literally from Brazil, goes to Miami, which I was like, well, that's interesting because we're here, and then it gets ground up and sent out, per order. And I was like, interesting. So I don't know. Have to look.
I'm sure a lot of people are doing that. But, you touch on something interesting as you brought that up on a conspiracy show, and yet it's not a conspiracy. And I think what's
Right.
interesting and what some people don't want to realize, don't want to believe, don't want to acknowledge is that a lot of conspiracy theories are actually have come true a lot of the time. And people deny it, deny it, deny it. There's no way that's possible. And then something happens and the truth is revealed, and voila, the conspiracy theory was not a conspiracy after all.
Right.
And you would think that would lead people to realize that, hey, maybe life is a little bit more interesting than we think it is.
I would agree with you. I would also agree that conspiracy is just a, allegedly, well, in a definition term, it is a secret plan for some outcome. It doesn't have to be bad.
True.
I mean,
But part number two with that is that the phrase conspiracy theory was ultimately started being used and used widely as a way to discredit those who spoke out against those with nefarious intentions.
as bad as that, the definition of that word nefarious is, I really like that word though. I just like the sound of the word. But yeah, I agree with you. And a lot of things are coming out, and we're not necessarily going to go through all of or any of what is coming out or what is going on or what we feel. And I mean, I'm happy to share my thoughts, but it's more about what can you do
Mm-hmm.
to find your truth, or what you can believe in. What are the trusted sites that we're going to, that you're going to, so that people that do listen to this or hear this, it will give them some value of, maybe if they're interested, where can they go?
Mm-hmm. I think the biggest thing, I mean, all of that, yeah, good. We can touch on some of that. I don't really want to get into anything specific about what sites to look at. I'd
Oh
rather
yeah, no.
stick to more generality, because everything right now is so up in the air of whether or not it's actually legitimate or not. With the introduction of AI at the degree that it is now, where there are videos coming out where you at first glance can't tell that it's real. You look a little closer and you start to notice some things are weird about it, and that's how you know that, oh, this is probably AI. But we're very soon going to get to the point here where it's not possible to discern with the human eye if a video is real or not. And that is going to throw a lot of people through a loop. It already is. I mean, most people just take things at face value, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the problem. But I think I'm just going to call it an issue that is happening right now, is people are attaching their ego so significantly to their thoughts and beliefs that to change or admit the fact that the word admit even has to be connected to that, but admit that something else could be true is so deeply embedded to the ego now for so many people that
Yeah.
they will fight against the truth tooth and nail, because in order to see the actual truth, or to even just to see another perspective, would
Mm-hmm.
would trigger their ego. And I think that's a really big problem that we're seeing everywhere, is that it's become so attached to emotion,
Yeah.
and just like something so silly can be so deeply attached to, like, if that's wrong, then my entire life is wrong. And it's like, it's really
Yeah.
nothing is that big of a deal, to be honest with you.
No, no.
Nothing's that serious. But unfortunately, that's kind of what's been cultivated in society. That's what those with nefarious agendas have created. That's what they've wanted.
Yeah.
And it's causing a lot of what we see now with these uprisings and cities being burned down and people being attacked and all of these things. And it's really all goes down to ego.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what hi Raymond, good afternoon. I love what Raymond's saying because it's so true. And we've kind of, we have this thought too that, conspiracy theories and being dripped out are a way for us to those that have no clue, haven't heard the things that are happening behind the scenes. Uh, a way for them to slowly start
Mm-hmm.
to learn about them. And we talk about this all the time when we watch movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You watch movies, or heck, we can even talk about The Simpsons if you want to, because how do they know
Let's not
how
go
everything?
down that rabbit hole because that legitimately may get us flagged.
um, but yeah, and that's not our goal today. And we've watched movies where then it's like, oh my god, but this is exactly what's happening right now. And so it desensitizes the majority that haven't started to really open their eyes to see things for themselves. And notice how I said that, and I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking about everybody, but notice how I said that with they're starting to open their eyes and see for themselves. They're not taking just someone's word for it.
Mm-hmm.
I won't go too much on a rant, but I was on a meeting yesterday, and it was about vaccines, and it was I I so believe in pro-choice. Everybody has their choice to believe what they want, to do what they want. Their body is their own. Make your own choices, but make them from a place of research.
Mm-hmm.
Make them from a place of education that you educated yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and don't just do it because it's been mandated or because somebody is forcing you to. If somebody's giving something away in order for you to do something, you might want to look into it just a little deeper and figure out why that is.
Yeah. Well, and I think a really interesting example that perfectly exemplifies what Raymond's talking about. And this, I mean, this is just purely looking at this as what happened in a timeline. I am not stating which way we fall on this. But what happened with the whole, I'm not going to use the word, with the flu situation that happened a few years ago, because again, I'm not trying to get anything flagged here, but there were a lot of things that, there were some people saying, oh, well, they're going to start doing this. And the majority of the population was going, no, they're not. You're just a conspiracy theorist. That's crazy. They're not going to do that. And then 6 months later, they did it. And
Mhm.
then those same people that called it out the first time were going, this is going to escalate to this point. And people going, no, it's not. You're crazy. They're never going to do that. And then that thing happened.
Right.
And then another thing was said, oh, they're going to do this. We need to stand up. We need to
Yeah.
be prepared. No, they're not. You're crazy. And all of a sudden, 2 years later, we're exactly where so many people
Right.
suggested that we might end up.
Mhm.
And what's so interesting is that whole situation is why was it so difficult to even allow ourselves to think and consider, well, what if those people are correct?
Right.
And some of that I think is so many people are so, and a few people even said it to me. It was like, no, that would never happen. People in the government, people in the whatever, they would never do that. And
Right.
it's like, that's having a lot of faith in other people that you've never met, number one.
Right.
um,
It's very true.
I mean, but it's also how much of that, again, going back to ego, how much of that is connected to, if that's true, what else is true?
Right.
And the hit on, and you're like, how does that connect to ego? The hit that then takes on the ego, which is, well, if I believed all those other things and went along with it, but now that's coming true, oh my God, look at all these terrible decisions I've made in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And that opens up a whole world of needing to deal with emotional stuff that comes up from it.
And then that's where, some emotional liberation coaching comes in, because you have to let go of the guilt,
Right.
and that, beating yourself up with, oh my God, I can't believe I fell for that. I can't believe I went along with that. And just realize, like, hey, okay, that's where I was then.
Yeah.
But what did I learn, and how can I apply that now, and move, and do better,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, so now I'm gonna check things. I've learned, I check sources. I want to find out from three different places at least,
You know
and
what
I
though?
mean
That's
three different
that's
places.
not reliable anymore, and it's not going
Well,
to be
that's true
more so
too.
with the way that AI is coming out with the videos and the graphics and all of these things that look incredibly real. None of that is going to be reliable anymore. The
Yeah.
only way, the only way to get through the times that we're in right now. I mean, but even beyond that, the first step is just allowing yourself to consider all the possibilities. And even
Good
that, a
point.
lot of people don't do. It's literally just stopping for a second, removing yourself emotionally from the situation, and looking at it and going, okay, what if this was true? What would that look like?
Mm-hmm.
What if this was true? What does that look like? And then comes in feeling. What feels
Right.
more aligned? Like what feels right? And that comes with learning your intuition and all of those things. But you have to start with being able to objectively look at both sides
Mm-hmm.
of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, the society that we've been indoctrinated in, and we're at a point right now where like that, looking from a neutral point of
Mm-hmm.
view, has become a bad thing somehow, where looking at something, taking yourself out of it and just allowing yourself to look,
Right.
see. Exactly, Raymond. Everything has a level of possibility. I mean, depending on your thoughts on how
Mm-hmm.
the universe works and everything, I personally believe that there's a countless uncountable amount of parallel universes happening at any point in time, which means
Right.
that literally anything is possible.
Yeah.
Literally anything is possible. Um, so yeah, thoughts.
Well, I mean, as you were talking, it's like back in the day, it was like you couldn't even come out and say that you thought you saw something in the sky
Mm,
that was a UFO, because
yeah.
you would be considered freaking loony and crazy. And no, that's not true. And no, of course not.
Even when
And,
I was a kid, and I thought
and
it was insane.
right. And now they're showing videos. I mean, how many pilots kept their mouths shut because they were afraid that they would be taken off the job, they'd be fired, or they would be thought crazy. Uh, and it was all right in front of our face. And so when you look at that and you go, well, if that's possible,
And
you-
has been released in classified documents, mind you, but
right, if
neither here
that's
nor there.
possible, what else is possible, and what else do others know that we don't know? So then you have to look at the word conspiracy again and go, so who are the conspiratists? Who are the ones that are creating? Well, and what are the bad conspiracies? And well, is there bad? Is there good? We don't, who knows? But what are the dark conspiracies? I guess the black hats, the white hats. I mean, there's that conversation, but we won't go there.
Well, and I think just the fact that conspiracy theories exist, what's funny to me is conspiracy theories in my eye are as scientific as it gets, because what is science based on? Science is based on asking questions. Science
Mhm.
is based on challenging established beliefs. Science is based on
Yes.
looking for answers. Science is based on calling out bullshit when you see it. And so
Mhm.
it gets really funny to me when people are like, oh, conspiracy theorists go against science. And it's like, that is the basis of what science is, actually. If you've taken any sort of basic science course in middle school through college, you know that the basis of science is to ask questions, is to challenge, is to prove things incorrect so that you can find the actual answers. So look at
Yeah.
how much the stance on the paranormal has changed even in the last 30 years. Absolutely, Raymond. When I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid, there was one ghost hunting show on television.
Yeah.
It was the classic Ghost Hunters, and then other I mean, look at just based on what people are interested in watching. Look how many paranormal and ghost hunting shows have come about. Because
Mm-hmm.
why? It's where the money is, yes, but it's because people want to see more of it. People are intrigued by it. People want to be in that realm of possibility of what if that is real.
Well, and there's also a lot more people coming out and going, wait a second, me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I've had an experience like that. And so now there's a little bit more openness with that. And like, I'm not afraid to be, scared or, to come out and say, yeah, we've seen light orbs.
Absolutely.
Yes, we have. We've experienced
Got
light
that
orbs.
files.
We have recorded light orbs,
Yeah.
and we have even gone.
I have a whole composition notebook of pages and pages of paranormal experiences. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did our due diligence, and we uh tried to prove them that, that what's the term? I
I'm
can't
not
think of
sure
the
what you're
term.
trying to say.
Debunk.
Debunk. Yeah.
We go through and we try to debunk it ourselves, and sometimes it was a light from a car passing by or what have you, but there's other stuff that you know we now know. And if anybody wants to go watch the Dead Files, that would be the episode called Deadly Force.
I can't remember the season. I know there's a 13 involved, or maybe
Yeah, we were the final episode of one of the seasons, so I know it's episode
Dead Files,
13.
The Deadly Force. It was a great
Yeah.
episode, in my humble opinion, but maybe because I'm
And
a star.
and we learned a lot.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot about not just the paranormal, but we learned a lot from the team that came out. Shout out to the Spirit Mechanics that came out and helped us deal with it. But they also opened up our eyes even farther
Well,
to what was happening.
and this is a great example for this. People would argue that paranormal activity and experiences are a conspiracy theory, that they're not real. I've been having paranormal experiences since I was a child. So everyone in our family has. And yet it wasn't something I know, Raymond, that's my go-to. It is not something that when I was a kid, it still was not normal to talk about necessarily. It wasn't something that people really looked into. You were kind of weird if you experienced those things. And more and more and more and more kept happening the more we didn't talk about it.
Right. It's true.
Then we finally got to a point where we're like, okay, you know what? Everybody is now on board. Everybody is now in acceptance that there is something happening here, and we want to figure out what's going on. And so when we had the Dead Files come here, and what's interesting is when we stopped fighting it and we all kind of accepted something's going on, we want to understand it. Lo and behold, we've learned to work with it, and negative things are not happening anymore. And there's so much beauty and joy and fascination and amazing things that happen when you just look into it. And so now it's become this kind of like fun, playful, for the most part, thing that we kind of work with, versus this thing that we all kind of avoided and we didn't want to look at, and we kind of just pretended it wasn't happening. And there were things that were going wrong and not pleasant experiences and all of these things. But the minute we decided, instead of turning away from it, but to look at it, look at the whole world that opened up from that.
Right. And that goes back to your emotions and trying to push emotions down and pretend that you're not feeling a certain way, or that we don't have voices in our head, because I'm sorry, mental community, that just because you have voices in your head does not mean that you have, you're nuts. It just means that different parts of you are trying to communicate with you and give you guidance, and you don't always have to listen to all of them, because some of them can be like the inner critic.
We're, we're edging on a very dangerous line here.
Yeah, I know. But but my point is that when you turn around and you face what's troubling you, when you face what you're most afraid of, when you talk about it, when you let out your true feelings, then the anxiety slips away. The feeling less than slips away.
Well,
And
you open the floor for exploration, and you open the floor for truth. And that's honestly part of what's been so interesting the last, we'll call it 7 years of humanity, is there's been so many things that average people have been instructed. Oh, you don't need to look into that. Oh, no, don't pay attention to that. Very much like the movie Don't Look Up.
oh my gosh, that was actually a really good movie.
It is a perfect example of basically what's been happening the last 7, 8, 10 years, whatever you want to call it. Is there's been so much of, well, we're just not going to look at it. That's no way. You can't operate. And so many conspiracy theories are that way, and that's why that whole concept of conspiracy theory and conspiracy theorists was created, so that way you do feel ostracized if you consider something that goes against the grain. Because if people ostracize you, then the average person isn't going to want that to happen to them, so I won't look into it either.
Yeah.
Any person who's trying to get control of people, I mean, that's move number 1.
Right. Exactly.
What happens in cults? You know what happens in cults?
Don't question.
I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know. And guess what? Cults don't end very well. Name me one that's gone well.
I don't think I can. Shout out to Ronnie Radke and a Falling in Reverse fan. Thank you, Raymond. Because I could sing that because I'm spinning like a carousel, circling the drain. Yes, one of my favorite songs. Sorry. Anyway, I digress. Don't get me singing. I'll break out the karaoke machine.
No. Raymond, enough with the lyrics, please.
So here, so we've talked about AI. We talked about science.
You have a list, don't you?
I do. I do because I wanted to stay on track, because we could totally go off track with this. I didn't have aliens down, and we talked about that.
That's going to be its own episode. I know it.
But I think what we have to remember most about all of this is respect. That when you are having the conversations, that you have a mutual respect. The ego is left out of it. It's not about winning. It's about hearing. It's about listening to another person, but respecting where they're coming from, and that they have free choice. And everybody can choose to believe the way that they want to.
Absolutely.
I may not like it. They may not like the way I feel. There's certain, people that there's like some heads button sometimes, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's not fight. Like, I'm going to convince you. And that came up on the meeting I was in yesterday. And it was a national healthcare type of meeting. And it was, well, convince and forcing, and I was like, whoa, wait a second. Why are we convincing? Let's talk this out. Let's, it shouldn't be like, I'm going to win you over. It's not like that. That sounds diabolical.
Yeah. Well, and let's look at that a little bit. If someone feels a compulsive need to convince someone of something else, what does that tell me? That tells me that there's ego involved. That tells me that they're probably benefiting from whatever they're trying to convince someone of. It means that their ego is so deeply embedded in the situation and connected that they can't fathom that somebody is different, that this person probably feels like the world revolves around them, which means everyone has to have the same beliefs and thoughts. This person probably has a control complex, whether or not they think that they do. And what's interesting is a lot of the people who fight so hard against control are actually the ones that have the largest power complexes, which is hysterical to me because it's so ironic. But all of that stems from ego and fear, and ego ultimately is from fear. So all of it at the end of the day comes from fear. Absolutely, Raymond. Yeah, they're basically a cult leader.
Yeah, exactly. Because they want to get whoever they are, we're talking very broadly here. They want to get more people to believe like them because then it'll help to prove them right. So really, they're feeling lost and alone and afraid, and they just want to get more people because they don't want to be wrong.
Right.
And so again, the ego is at play. And
Yeah.
that's why, what you were saying before is take everything that's happening now, that is going to be happening, look at it objectively, pretend that you are that freaking eagle flying way above and looking at it just like, okay, if I were a movie producer, what would I think about the scene happening before me right now? Does this make sense? And we can, I did that for a whole weekend after there was a certain shooting where I literally took myself out of it.
A certain
The
what?
shooting, the
That's
I'm saying I
can't use those words.
I said boothing.
It's too late now.
I took a step back and I looked at all of the footage. Can I say footage?
Not this topic. You're gonna get us kicked off the platforms. Stop.
Okay, and that in itself,
cut off.
That in itself is a problem. Okay.
Oh yes, exactly. Another perfect example. No, not that topic.
Oh my goodness!
Okay, we're gonna have a conversation after that. I'm gonna give you a list of words not to say in our following episode. Jeez Louise. Oh my lord. On a different note.
You're turning so different, like many shades of red. That's great.
I'm just thinking of like, oh great, I'm gonna get a violation notice in my YouTube and all sorts of things. Anyway, what I was thinking of though as you were talking, is I think it's really interesting. And I don't think anyone can deny that there's been a major culture shift since the 90s in the sense that when I was growing up, it was very hard to tell who was a liberal, who was a Republican, who was a this, who was a that.
So true.
That's usually why I wear high neck shirts because I'm so pale, my whole body turns red. Anyway, and nowadays, back then people didn't really talk about those, whether you were liberal, conservative, whatever it was, because, it just wasn't relevant to the everyday. It was, people just lived their lives. They were nicer to their neighbors. You just, you had friends and you focused on other things. And in the last, oh my God, is it 30 years? Oh my God, my brain still wants to say the 90s was 10 years ago.
I know.
30 years ago. In the last 30 years, we now are at this point where it's like, you can't even necessarily say what side you're on without extremists from both sides causing a fit. And I use the word the extremist of both sides because both sides, and yes, it is two different sides, both sides, 90, 95, 99% of the people on either side are average people just trying to figure out what the best way is for them. But you've got conservatives not wanting to talk about their beliefs because they are going to be labeled a bigot and a racist and a sexist and all of these things, which is not the truth for 99.9% of them.
Right.
And you've got liberals who are scared to talk because they're going to be labeled a this and a that, and I don't even know what the buzzwords are for them, to be quite honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So people can't even just have conversations anymore. And that was starting to come up definitely in like my teenage years, because there's people in our family that conversations would come up and it'd start getting heated, and I was like, what is happening?
Right.
But now you can't even broach the topic without it being flipping World War IV in your living room or in the supermarket.
Right.
It's wild.
It is, and it's torn families apart. And it's taken time away. It's stolen time away that could have been spent as a family because too afraid the conversation might come up.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to move past the sides thing.
Absolutely.
Because I think that, and I said this a long time ago to a friend of mine that's a teacher, if we could just talk about being really good human beings, just really, and at this point, to Raymond's point, being unique and being right, being good beings, not even human beings, but just having good energy.
Well, and how about just keeping your nose to yourself? Stop sticking your nose in everybody else's business.
Stay in your damn lane. And that doesn't mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't care about what's going on in the world, but do it in little itty, and I mean itty bits of moderation, just so you know enough, like, can I drive down the street today, or are there going to be a bunch of motorcycles, and like, just know, and I'm not saying anything about motorcyclists.
For people who don't live in Florida, they have no concept of what you're talking about. How about, is there a storm? Should I be worried about tornadoes or like a natural disaster? Maybe that's a little bit more universally.
All right, there's a certain day of the year that sometimes it can be really crazy to go out because it's just nuts. But my point is that go and get your information. Get it from different places. Don't get it from, I don't even know if we can say that. I know I'm digging a hole, Raymond. Somebody please get a shovel and help me.
This is the story of my life, which is hysterical because I'm usually the one that's not necessarily as PC as I need to be. Anyway, to Raymond's point, you're spot on, Raymond, and I think that is a big talking point of what has sort of happened to our society, especially with the people that have become influencers and content creators. Everyone is trying to be so unique and different that, there's running jokes online of people who are, the comments are, can we bring shame back? And it's funny because people are so focused on being unique or being right that there's just the thought of what they're actually doing has kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
And some of these videos online, what are we doing? It's okay to have some privacy.
Okay, I just have to bring up one more.
Oh gosh. Raymond, get the shovel ready.
No, so I was watching this video. I won't say where it was from or what it was about, but it was this one man saying that I'm a better billionaire than this other billionaire. And I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with 99% of the rest of the world? Like, I'm a better billionaire than this other billionaire. He's a liar. And it's like, can we bring it to like normal life? And we just want our coffee to not be moldy.
We just want to live in peace. We just want to live in peace. So many people just want homesteads with some animals and just chill. And
I just want my red meat to be actual red meat and not like
my watermelon to be grown in a garden, not rubbery because it's made in a lab.
Right, exactly.
Simple things. I mean,
like,
it's really.
And you brought up the 90s. Can we just go back to like the big hair band days and just like, just life was so much simpler. And
I like it's so interesting. But did they become back? No. True. Well, I mean, would we know though?
True.
Would we know, Raymond? I don't know that we would.
Mm,
You know, there's
well,
yeah, who knows? I don't remember what I was going to say before, but this I think has been a really fun conversation. I think there's no better time than to wrap it up than now. Probably we could keep going, and maybe we'll have a part two.
I think we should. And and I'm gonna give a shout out to my godsons, because the other night they asked, and maybe this would be a good topic because it kept us going for about 40 minutes the other night. Speaking of Batman, what superpower, if you could have any superpower, what superpower would you want to have? We literally had a
I'm
like
putting it on the
deep,
list for literally.
hard conversation with these two teenagers and me going back and forth about superpowers, and me going, but you have it inside of you if you would just let it out. It was pretty funny.
I cannot just decide to fly one day. This isn't the Matrix.
Well, actually, in meditation, you could learn to travel, couldn't you? I'm just saying.
I have just put that on the list for next week. So if anyone's interested in being part of the conversation of what superpower you would want to have, join us next week, because that will be the topic. And I'm going to literally spend the next 7 days thinking about this and figuring out which one I would want as my superpower.
I cannot wait.
I'm probably going to read a lot of different Reddit threads to hear what other people's ideas are. Physical talk. I mean, that's a good one, Raymond, but like I've heard before, like people say, like, I reach into my pocket and anything I want is in there. So that could be, gold, money, a drink, a snack. I don't know. That one's interesting. I don't know. Snap my fingers and anything I want is there. I don't know.
Oh, see, then it makes me think of Bewitched, but I think we're getting ahead of ourselves because that's next week's topic. I'm going to research, but I'm going to go and research to where I normally research things, which is anywhere but within North America. So I'm going to go outside.
Yeah, but even that's not really dependable. We're gonna have a part 2 because I feel like we didn't.
Pocket dimensions.
That's interesting. That reminds me of in Men in Black when the aliens playing with the marbles, and each marble is a galaxy. Anyway, this has been a great conversation, everybody.
That brings us back to the conspiracy of that.
Mike,
sorry,
very loud.
I'm getting very passionate about that.
I can tell, but lean back if you do that, please. Where can they find you, Michelle?
They can find me at mokshagrace.com. Mm-hmm. And notice I said .com. And we're calm today. mokshagrace.com, and anywhere on social media under Moksha Grace. And tomorrow is Moment of Presence. We are wrapping up our series on life transformations. And so tomorrow's conversation is going to go into more of what you can do when you're dealing with life, transformations. And then on Thursdays, we have Odonata Community. If you would like to join in on some group coaching, all you got to do is just show up. Well, first you got to register, and then you get to show up. So mokshagrace.com/community, and you can get registered. And then I
want to mention, there's no intro call or anything. You can just get started. So and it's a monthly, a low monthly fee, and you get on the call literally tomorrow night.
And everybody gets coached on the call. Sometimes I'll bring up a topic. I'm working on a topic for tomorrow night. We have someone new joining us as well, and so I welcome her. And we're gonna have fun.
You also can just book a regular old call if you want some one-on-one coaching. That's mokshagrace.com/coaching. Just to put that out there for you.
Yes. And Krista, and producer, as Raymond calls you, where can people find you?
You can find me at wickedwisdomconsulting.com, also on LinkedIn and Facebook. I have a free call that you can book there. If you want to network with me, that's cool too. I have a call for that as well. And we'll chit chat.
Yeah. It's all good. All good things today.
Yeah. Have a great day, everyone. Remember to keep an open mind and think beyond the confines of what you're used to, and take a little dip into the wild side of conspiracy theory. See how it feels. Try some on. Put the hat on. See how it feels. Ditch the ones you don't like and keep the ones you do.
Yeah,
And
just
go watch the Ron Funches segment on conspiracy theories that we mentioned in the description of this video, because it is hilarious.
and also don't look up. That's another good thing to watch. And maybe one day, we'll have to have Raymond on and he can talk to us more about, conspiracy theories and
Maybe for October we'll do, or maybe like all of fall we'll do like all
ooh,
topics. We'll see. Yeah,
yeah.
keep your shovel gloves close. Absolutely, Raymond. And that was a tongue twister. On that note, have a great day, everybody. Have a great rest of
Bye.
the week, and we will see you next week. Bye.
See you later.